All right, so you were raised in New Jersey. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your childhood, like growing up here and everything?
Yeah, sure. So, yep, raised in New Jersey. My parents are Filipino immigrants, and they came here in the '60s. They spent a lot of time here in America before they even met each other, really. And then they had myself, my sister, and yeah, we grew up in South Orange, New Jersey. It was a beautiful area to grow up in. I had a fairly normal upbringing, whatever the word normal means, but it was filled with a lot of creativity. My dad was an architect, and he taught me how to draw. He was the first one that actually showed me how to draw. That was like his early way of bonding with me, which is really cool. Like that architectural style of continuous line
Oh,
drawing,
wow.
and that's my earliest learning of a drawing technique, which actually which I learned as an actual technique, like the skill of it, once I went to the School of Visual Arts at SVA,
Yeah.
where now I teach. I was like, oh, actually, this is all goes back, like it has a whole lineage, a proper lineage of capturing life from a continuous line. And my mother was a doctor, so I have a little bit of that left brain, right brain
Yeah.
kind of going on. And yeah, like when I was a kid, like my days and nights were filled with reading a lot of comic books, watching a lot of movies. I really dug into TV and movies and media. I just consumed all of it. I remember I would tape so many movies off of TV. I'd watch them late at night. I would rent movies like on weekends. I would stay up until 2 or 3 in the morning, just like watching like almost anything. My parents they would kind of give me free reign when it came to what I was watching. So it was kind of cool. And that kind of gave me like this creative spark and this desire to just want to represent the world in front of me in some form or fashion. So, fast forward to college, I went to Rutgers University for communication and psychology originally, and I didn't graduate with a degree in art or design, which I think was what my heart wanted at the time,
Yeah.
even though I excelled at those things in elementary school and high school. But after that, I moved to New York City to get my master's degree at the School of Visual Arts. And that's where I studied under Marshall Arisman, who was the head, who's since passed, but who was the chairman of the illustration MFA program there. And he was incredible. He was one of those guys that had, when you see his style, it's unmistakable. He was known for doing the first cover to American Psycho by Bret Eastman Ellis, very famous cover. If you ever watched the show Freaks and Geeks.
I haven't know, but
Oh,
I'll check it
okay.
out.
Yeah, it's like one season, but a great show. Early careers for a lot of young Hollywood at the time, like Seth Rogen and like all those sorts. But the main character, I forget the main character's name, but when he opens up his locker at the beginning of every episode, there's this cover from like the early '80s of Darth Vader on Time magazine, and
Oh,
that was
wow.
illustrated by my chairman, Marshall Arisman. He was one of those guys that really had a visual stamp
Yeah.
on visual culture at the
Mhm.
time, and he was like incredible to learn from. So I kind of got my start in the creative world there from
I
those
have
humble
to
days in
say,
Jersey.
shout out to dad because I feel like you got the hookup, like in terms
Oh
of drawing
yes.
and learn like the best techniques. And I love that. I think like the best couples are like, especially for kids, like when they're like academic and then artistic. I think that makes like the best parents, especially for you because you got like the best of both worlds.
Mhm.
And as a kid, were you always interested in art? Like, did you always want to be an artist?
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to be a comic book illustrator
Oh, nice.
originally. Like every weekend, my dad would take me to a hobby shop, like in different ones all over New Jersey,
Yeah.
and he would collect cards. He was big into collecting cards, like baseball, basketball, football cards, what have you. And I was into comics. So I would, for hours, just be reading on the floor of a
Oh,
comic book shop.
wow.
And then I would have my little stack when I went home, and I still read comics like here every now and then too. Like what I love is the dynamicism of the art
Mhm.
and also sequential storytelling. Like really storytelling, that's where I got a lot of my storytelling chops. Like on how
Yeah.
to do it in a very succinct manner in 22 pages. A lot of that translates into large advertising campaigns, believe it or not. It's funny, I did some running commercials for the brand Hoka.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and they're a great brand.
Yeah.
And we shot a couple of commercials in South Africa. We shot them in Iceland. And then we were storyboarding. I was working with an amazing storyboard artist. And like a lot of the skills that we pick up as sequential artists is from comics.
Yeah.
So it all still works today
Oh,
in such
wow.
an interesting way.
And when you say you did those, were you the model and the creative director?
Oh, yes. I was just a creative director
Oh,
on
okay.
that, but from soup to nuts, working with a really talented team of strategists and designers and also other creatives where we're really trying to put together like a strategic way to create a campaign around a footwear product,
Yeah.
around a sneaker essentially, and that includes how it lives in the world, like the visual system that like comes along with it, and also the location of where we shoot, like South Africa or something.